myself right. Reach out and touch the sky. Boy, you with me, don't wait for nights. Going baptized, yes, spirit baptized. Going in, yeah, to help myself right. Reach out and touch the sky. Boy, you with me, don't wait for nights. Going baptized, yes, spirit baptized.
Hey, welcome back to I'm Going In. I'm your host, Todd Blyleven, and I'm excited again. Once again, I've been really blessed to bring on some really incredible people, just willing to help themselves, willing to help others. And today's guest, Deborah Green, is today's episode on I'm Going In. She's had a remarkable journey through law enforcement, which began in 1990 as a military police officer with the California Army National Guard. Thank you, ma'am, for your service there. Um, you were deployed during the LA riots in 1992. I remember those days. I was actually playing at a junior college in Southern California in Orange County. I remember playing and the bus didn't show up and all that chaos went down, and it was a scary time for Southern California people, and you were right in the middle of it. Your time in the Guard, you transitioned to a dispatcher role with Sacramento PD and later joined the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. I'm really excited that you're on because I really want to be able to share the story of what our dispatchers go through and the struggles there. But your career has not been without its challenges, including a tragic incident in 2019 that deeply impacted you and your colleagues. I'd like to get into that. After being signed off work in October 2020, you made the courageous decision to retire in 2021. So I'd like to talk about that. And just, I'm really excited for you to share your experiences and insights, especially focusing on the crucial topic of mental wellness and first responders, which, as you know, is a tragic, I think just undervalued topic amongst our men and women in blue and red and green and white and everything other all the colors that are represented through the first responder community, right? But
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am, for being on the I'm Going In podcast.
Oh my gosh, ma'am. Makes me feel old.
I'm in Texas, so it's all yes sir, yes, ma'am. But
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
So I like to kind of get in, especially, with our first responder community. We have a lot of athletes, a lot of teachers, general business, different people that listen. And I always am intrigued with the kind of why you did things way back when. So what, you got into the National Guard. And what kind of drove you to get into the military police side and really kind of get into that mode?
Well, when you go into the National Guard, you go into a specific unit. So you go specifically to that unit to say, hey, I want to join. And they put you, so you know where you're going after basic training and your schooling. So a lot of my friends were military police, so that's, I want to be with my buddies. So there you go. I'm joining up in that unit, only I didn't qualify at the time for initial enlistment for military police. I was too short. So they had,
Wow.
yeah, who knew height requirements?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So there was a loophole. If you went in as something else, when you finished that up and you finished like 2 years as that job skill, then you could transfer over to something else.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So I went in as a communication specialist where I ran the radios and the field phones. So, the little crank phones out in the field and in their little burlap sacks. And I ran the switchboards for the field phones and ran field wire and things like that. And then when I got married, so I was in Texas for a lot of this. I transferred to Texas National Guard out of Fort Hood and then again out of Fort Sam Houston. And I was in the 49th Armored Division
Wow.
down there. And then met my second husband, got married, and moved back to California. Then I was in the 270th Military Police out here, and that's where I switched over to become military police officer.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun up until 1992.
Yeah. The
So
riots.
I made it through not having to go to Desert Storm. At the time my ex-husband was in the military also, and he had gotten deployed to Saudi Arabia. And at the time, they didn't, at the beginning of all of this shenanigans, they didn't send married couples over to the same theater.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I stayed home with the kids while he went. And then he got home and I went to LA. So that
Wow.
was
You
it
got
was
the
different.
riots.
Yeah, I got the real one.
Yeah, exactly. So what was your
Yeah,
role during the riots then?
I was a military police officer. We provided security for when we initially went in, we kind of quelled all the riots in Long Beach, and um then we got moved to provide security for Parker Center, which is the headquarters for LAPD at the time, which was right across the street from City Hall. So, because I had been communications and because at the time of the riots, I was also in school in the academy for um, Sacramento Police. I kind of overlapped there for a little bit.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they put me as the company dispatcher for night
Okay.
shift.
Okay. There
So,
you go.
so yeah, I just basically, did radio checks and made sure everybody was awake and if something was happening around the area that we were at, then I deployed people, and so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, really. I mean, you just got thrown into the fire. I remember that riot uh, when it first broke out, and just I guess, how scared something like that makes people, even though you're miles away. Uh, it threatens your entire kind of security
Oh, yeah.
within communities. I remember, I think my dad was out of town. My mom was like, we got to get the shotgun and we got to get in the RV and we got to take off and get everything. And I'm like, oh, hold on. Like, they're not going to come up here. Like, we're not, this is centralized, but the chaos that
Oh,
that whole thing's crazy.
it was crazy. Yeah, just driving into Long Beach, there was a working fire on every single city block, and the
Wow.
looting that was taking place. And, it took us about 3 days, but we finally got Long Beach settled down a little bit. And then um, I always make a joke that it took one company of army to quell the riot, and then apparently it took a whole battalion of Marines to keep it safe.
Oh boy. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, they took out. So we were just one small little company, and then they had a whole battalion of Marines come in and keep it keep it locked down for us. And it's like, wow, I thought it was supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah, really. Oh wow. So the dispatching then, that obviously because of your experience, when you got into the Sacramento PD, um, is that something that you kind of had an ambition to go into, or how did that?
Well, I wanted to go into law enforcement. I applied for Sac County Sheriff, and had made a up on I was like third rank on my testing, which apparently was really good according to deputies that I knew.
Yeah.
But they had some sort of computer glitch at the time. So we're talking 1990,
Right. Right.
1992. There was a
Yeah.
lot of glitches.
Yeah.
So they lost all my testing and everything.
Oh,
And so um they were like, "Oh, you can come down to retest." And I went, "No, thanks. I'd already gotten hired with SAC PD." And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. We're good."
wow. And did you go in as a dispatcher then, or how did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just kind of applying everywhere, and I thought, well, dispatcher, after being in the LA riots, dispatcher seemed pretty safe job. You know,
Yeah.
you weren't getting shot at, you weren't getting, having that face to face. You were still talking to people, but I kind of was concerned more about my kids. I didn't
Mm.
want to be taken out,
Yeah.
when my kids were little. And
Yeah.
so uh, dispatching kind of it fit.
Yeah. And I mean, probably with what, I've had like a psychologist on, and we kind of really dove into more the coping skills that you learn growing up or in your prior employments when that kind of chaos or chaotic moment happens. Everything that you've done emotionally has kind of prepared your body armor basically to somewhat be prepared for that moment, right? Now
Oh yeah.
every time is different, but do you feel like, you know, everything that you did through your military um experiences, the riot, this was kind of a breath of fresh air getting into dispatching?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, because you're not, I'm not crawling on the ground in the mud. I'm not shooting at people. I'm not
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was different, but I was still contributing. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I really wanted to do is I wanted to be a helper
Mhm.
in one way or another. So,
And you didn't feel that being a, let's call it like, basically an everyday street cop, you're helping the individual, but then in that dispatch role, you're probably, doing a lot more. I mean, just a lot
oh,
more
yeah, a
calls
lot
and
more.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go, for like, I'm curious too. Now, I grew up, with a lot of different military in my background, law enforcement. All my buddies are cops or vets. And I've gone on tons of ride-alongs in LA to Corona to Highway Patrol to just
Mm.
different parts of the country when I was playing. Um, Talk to us about what the kind of the daily role is on, what did you do as a dispatcher working in law enforcement? The survivor symbol means so much to me as a mass shooting survivor. I wear my survivor phoenix with pride, representing strength and resilience. It reminds us that even when we feel knocked down, we're not alone. Together, we can rise stronger. A portion of the profits will support other survivors needing help. Get yours today at tobly11.com.
So basically the job is being a dispatcher. There's a person that answers phone calls, takes questions. We ask a lot of questions. We want to know who, what, where, when, why. And we enter that call into a CAD system, which is computer aided dispatch. And they're different around the country, a lot of computer systems. Um, and then you have a radio dispatcher, which also has a screen that can see pending calls, calls that have been dispatched, all the units that you have and their status, and then they take and send units to the calls. So you have two kind of separate areas in the dispatch center. You have call takers and then radio.
Okay.
Um, so that's it in a nutshell. There were some days where I worked Sac PD an 8-hour shift. I took over 100 calls, entered 100 calls. That
Wow.
doesn't mean I answered 100 times on the phone.
Yeah.
There was a lot more that I didn't enter, but I entered 100 calls myself in one shift. And that's a lot.
Yeah. That's a
When you
lot.
figure 8 hours, that's roughly 10 to 15 calls an hour, and that doesn't leave much to process between calls. You're just, you know, picking up the whole time. So
Wow. That's,
lots of trauma.
yeah, Deborah, like, we talk about, I guess with, unfortunately for our dispatchers, there's a lot of conversation of firefighters compared to police officers, right? And in the first responder community, as you well know, um, when first responders get called on a scene, they're generally with five, there's generally five of them that are approaching this chaotic scene, whatever that is, right? And if it's bad, they generally sometimes will have a routine where they go back to the firehouse, their place of safety, and I've talked to some firefighters that like they'll go get a cake, they'll do some form of a ritual, like they eat this cake, they talk about what they just saw, but they're five people together, right?
Right. And you
For the
have
most part.
the firehouse, the kitchen table, your dining room table. You're
The
able
kitchen
to
table.
sit around that and you're able to talk with each other and process that information. Where law enforcement, they're one or two people in a car.
Yeah.
If two people is good, if you're good friends, you can talk it out. But one single person, I mean, if it's a busy night, you finish that call, you go to the next. You don't have time to process. Like fire. I mean, fire is not, some nights it could be jumping, but
Right.
for the most part, you go to a call, you finish that call, you go back to the station, you're able to process. Even when you're cleaning your equipment or putting your stuff away, you're able to talk to each other. Where law enforcement doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
as dispatchers, depending on your agency, it could be one dispatcher up to 100 sometimes, depending on what agency you're with. If you're one person in a small agency and you're jumping, you don't have anybody to talk to. You have to learn these coping skills, because in a small rural agency, when shit happens, pardon my French, everyone, when shit happens, it happens. I mean, it's not like in the big city, but and I've worked both, you know. But in a smaller agency, you get to know these people and they're your family, and when something happens, it affects you more, I think, in a smaller agency than it does in a larger agency.
It's probably more of a personal, obviously, you just touched on a
Oh
personal
yeah. Oh,
connection. Yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's like a family. And I mean, I knew everybody on my shift. I knew, I think we had maybe not even 200 cops, you know.
Wow.
And so you know who everybody is.
Yeah. And the calls that come in, I mean, like you just described, you're doing 100 calls in 8 hours of time,
Right.
10 calls or so an hour, and that time in between, is it just, I mean,
I mean, there
I,
were times I was hanging up and punching the next call. And back in the 90s, it wasn't computerized like it is
yeah,
now. It was literally you were punching buttons on this little console here with your phones. Hang
no
up,
time to
punch the
breathe.
next one. No, yeah, no time to breathe. Some agencies even, I don't know if at that time, but once you hung up, another call just popped in your ear. And I know that happens now where you hang up a call and sometimes they'll just pop right up for the next one. And it's, you don't get time to breathe sometimes.
Well, and I would imagine too, you don't know what's coming.
No,
It's not like you're preparing yourself for a board meeting and you get, you know, 2 weeks to prepare and go out and present. You're like Johnny on the spot.
right. Yeah, I mean, and that's, I know it's one thing I liked about the job was you didn't come into a stack of paperwork
Yeah.
like you did in an office job. You have this and this and this. It was different every day, but that was also the worst part of it, because of things that you had to, everything was different every day. So, to come across things that you never had come across before, even after 28 years.
Yeah. How did you process that, you know, like as from an athlete's perspective, right? Something goes bad in a ball game or something else, you recenter yourself, you learn little tricks on how to refocus, get yourself back in the game and go. I know in
Mhm.
my chaotic situation, just on one of them, that people mostly talk about me with Vegas, when I would bring someone out, I was absolutely devastated on what had happened right then and there, or I was energized because somebody was living and I would get up. But that self motivation, the reset to then keep going back and forth and continue. In your case, you're doing that every day when you check in, right, for
Mhm.
work. What process, like, how did you process that to keep yourself kind of level headed enough to answer that next call with professionalism and integrity and
Just kind of take a deep breath between every
really
call, you know? I
wow.
mean, because you could be working a stabbing or a shooting, you hang up, the next call, you answer as 911, you don't know what you're going to get, and it's a 3-year-old on the phone. You
Wow.
have to, I mean, it's something you have to do. And back in the day when I started, back in, the 90s, um, it was suck it up. If you
Mm.
couldn't handle it, they didn't want you there. So you just kind of, a lot of stuff you just kind of shove down into your little backpack, and on the weekend you drank, uh
Yeah. Yeah.
yelled
That's
at
what
the
I was going to ask
kids,
you.
did the, I mean, that's what dispatchers lived on: coffee and cigarettes. So,
Wow. That's what I was
yeah.
going to ask you. Like at the end of your shift, your head just number one has to be pounding
Oh,
and
yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to process what the heck you just went through. What was that journey like? I mean, just getting back to your house with your kids.
Luckily, I had a bit of a drive, so it was kind of nice. You
Hmm.
just turn up the music and kind of chill out on the way home. And I
Yeah.
worked a lot of graveyards, so I didn't have much traffic on the way home. Um, but it, I don't know how to describe it. I just kind of I dealt with it because it's what you did. There was no um acknowledgement that something could happen, that all of this stuff could cause you to do something. It
Yeah.
just, people usually quit or were fired before you realize what had happened to them. So, it's just, you just shove it down and keep going.
Was there ever a moment, and I think I know the answer because I grew up in that time too, but was there ever a moment that your senior leadership or bosses or just officers or people would just maybe see something, in you that maybe you had a bad couple calls in a row or, give you just say, "Hey, Deborah, you want to come in the office and talk about it?" Or how's everything going?
Um, Actually, no. I think there was a couple times where somebody said, "Hey, go take a break.
Mm.
Go outside, take a break, have a smoke. That was a bad call. Just go outside, take 15, come back in." There wasn't any talking about it. We really didn't get, so on a lot of critical calls that we had debriefings, but we had those tactical debriefings
Mm.
where you go in and you talk about the call and how we could do things better. And there wasn't that, the critical incident stress management didn't play a part in that until I think we had our first quote unquote kumbaya meeting in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long time,
That's a long
to
time.
be. So I had been dispatching 12 years by then, before we actually had something mental health related. And
Wow.
instead of having just the dispatchers and police off or the deputies, the separate people, it was everybody in one room with a therapist
Oh,
that was on that
geez.
call.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. you know,
Yeah.
all
You
right.
talk first. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And actually that meeting was about a month. Yeah, because I had just learned about a month before I went in for open heart surgery. So I had just found out at that meeting, and it's like, oh, great. So I had all sorts of other things going on too.
Yeah.
Um, I was born with a congenital heart defect, and
Wow.
Had to go in 2015, April 2015, and get that fixed.
Wow.
And then I went back to work as a dispatcher for another almost 10 years. So,
Yeah, I bet you that break was nice though. I mean,
oh yeah, 3
considering,
months off. It was
yeah,
fabulous.
yeah, recharge. Yeah. Wow. And that's, you bring something up too. That's changed a lot now, and you're starting to see it more in the firefighter community. It's spreading into the law enforcement, but it hasn't quite grown legs yet. Is that one-on-one now?
Oh yeah.
Where you have like up here in Texas, you've got a couple different organizations that basically go to firehouses, go to law enforcement, buildings, and they're becoming part of the family now. They're
Oh
going out on
yeah.
ride-alongs.
Oh yeah.
And so it's adding to this kind of trusted resource, but
Hmm.
they're still employed by the agency.
Right.
So, especially from the law enforcement side, which you probably dealt with, active officers are probably reluctant to.
Well, you would be, because that
Yeah,
person may or may not have to report back to, um and until we get that confidentiality straightened out,
yeah,
you know, um having a therapist that works with the employees, it's going to be trouble. But if you have somebody comes in and right away that agency says it's confidential, we don't need to know. You're just here so that you can help our people out. And you have to make sure that all the employees are aware of that.
yeah. I don't think change is ever going to happen unless that occurs right there.
Absolutely. And having therapists on staff it's a lovely dream that I wish would happen everywhere.
Yeah. Well, even in a lot of different areas, whether you're in a business and you're an employee, you want to try to talk to your HR person because that might be, but that
Yeah.
HR person is going out to lunch with your senior leader, right? Your boss or your CEO. So you immediately you're like, oh, there's a connection there. I can't say anything because God forbid he or she
Right.
says something to them. The other way around, like an athlete talking to a coach. Well, is that coach going to, or the athlete talking to a school therapist or counselor, or is
Hmm.
it going to get back to my coach? I'm not going to play anymore. I'm not going to start. They're going to
Right.
understand that my issue is maybe with them because of the way they're getting on me, and I can't handle that. I need additional resources. Yeah, the confidential piece is super huge, and I know it's uh, something that we need to take care of. But so you go back and get back to your story. You go back, you're in there for 10 years, but in 2019 you had a tragic incident.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that? And
Sure. Because we're actually coming up on 5 years right now. Um,
wow,
um, in October. So I dispatched a call. I sent 3 deputies to a call involving a marijuana grow. And in California at that time, you could have more plants than, I think it was 12 plants you could have. But if you had a piece of property, you could grow for more you could have like lots of little grows in there for other people. Um, so what the cartels were doing, this little backstory, was
yeah,
going into these individuals, asking them to grow for the cartels. And then October is harvest season. So that's when, you get a lot of activity around here in Northern California around October, November.
yeah,
Um, So we got this call about suspicious subject in his grow. So I sent 2, and then I got that little dispatcher spidey sense said, I need another person, just because of where it was in the county. It wasn't convenient to get back up to. So let's send more. Um, then I went on break. Then I'm out walking, minding my own business, coming back up. I get a text, get in here now. And I'm like, oh crap. So I ran back in, sat down. They had shots fired, and as soon as I plugged in, I heard more shots fired calls. We tried to raise one of our deputies and couldn't.
Wow.
Kind of one thing led to another. I heard that they got him in an ambulance. And so in the back of your mind, you go, okay, he's in that ambulance. I don't need to worry about him anymore. Shove him back. Get the suspects. Let's get this all cleaned up. In the middle of all this, before we even got the suspects arrested, we got a call from the hospital that he had been killed.
Wow.
I had seen him and talked to him just before he left the building. He's, my last ride along was with this guy.
Wow.
And so I continued on. That was at 1:30 in the morning. We didn't get our second suspect arrested until about 4:30 in the morning.
Jeez.
So we had lots of counties, lots of agencies, SWAT team, you name it, they were out there. Highway Patrol sent their fixed wing aircraft out. So I was working with them. And then as soon as they got the second suspect, my relief was right behind me. And
Wow.
then I went down the hall and sat in the stairwell and cried for half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
I'm
a
so
tough night.
sorry. The You don't think about the dispatcher
No.
in that situation. You don't think about, here you are listening to this unfold, and that's your family out there, and you're trying to do everything you can to protect. And even,
Yes.
you had thank God, the intuition to call out a third
Right.
backup in the beginning. Otherwise, it could have been even worse.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if this is luck, but my guy that passed away, Brian Ishmael, he had a ride along with him, and we called them applicant ride alongs. So the guy was from another agency and was armed. And I think had he not been there, my other two guys may have been killed.
Wow. Another
And but
divine.
he got shot too. He got shot also. The ride along did. So
Wow.
but out of all of us involved, our little group of 4 people that survived this, none of us are there anymore.
Why is that?
One of the guys never came back. It just affected him a lot.
Yeah.
He was out there. That was his first shooting, and he just never came back. One of the other deputies, he'd come back, then leave, come back, leave, and he finally retired just before I did. I stayed for a year, tried to working through my traumas and and whatnot, and was signed out by my psychiatrist in 2020. And then the ride along never went back to work either.
Wow. Did the aftermath of that, what was that therapeutic journey like in terms of the
Oh,
support that maybe your office provided? Was it still in a room full of other people and never
no,
gonna?
actually they did it really good at the beginning.
That's
I
good.
mean, it was like textbook stress management. We got the initial one that night or that morning with just the dispatchers that were involved. So everybody got theirs. So the detectives had theirs, patrol had theirs, every little group had their own that morning. Then 2 days later, they called us back in for a more formal with the psychiatrist or psychologist there. But after that, there wasn't really much follow-up. I mean, the first, week was great, but there wasn't much follow-up after that. Because when you had this type of incident, the long term, you have to watch out for the long-term effects. And
Yeah.
that's what happened with me was I went through all the stages of grief. Plus I had PTSD, which was diagnosed by my psychiatrist in 2020. But also when you've had 28 years, I mean, even 3 or 4 years, you still have those traumas. So I was diagnosed secondary with complex PTSD because you have those traumas that build up and build up and build up. And then you have that one that just takes you out.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened was it took me out. And I was going to therapy. I had been in therapy since 2015 for my surgery because that did a whole bunch of other things to me. So I knew that I needed to stay in therapy. But that wasn't enough because of I really needed to have like EMDR or brain spotting or something immediately. And I didn't get that, nobody knew about that at the time.
Yeah.
So, but I stayed in therapy. The Deputy Sheriff's Association gave me a scholarship to go to a trauma retreat for first responders. So I did that in December of 2020. And that was fabulous. That helped me. I mean, I got my first brain spotting session there, and that helped me for over a month. Just that one session, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But workman's comp, I had been on workman's comp since September 2020, and they deemed me permanently disabled from dispatching.
Wow.
And so that's where I had to make the decision to retire.
Yeah. You were, I mean, geez, what a warrior you are. I mean, just going through all the years of compounded call after call after call, and then the straw that broke the camel's back, obviously, impacted your entire department and the community. You being right there in the center of everything. The willingness to open up, how was that for you? When you went through that retreat, were you able to just kind of let it all out? Like, hey,
Oh yeah, we had a lot of ugly crying.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's awesome.
It just, if I don't talk about it, first of all, I'm not going to heal.
Right.
Second of all, I'm not going to be able to tell my story to others, to trying to relate to others.
Right.
And doing this now, going around and telling my story, I can touch others and help them get help.
Yeah.
Which I have found the one person, my first person I got contacted. Now I'm working on number 2. So,
that's amazing. Well, your story's gonna it's gonna help a lot of people just on self-discovery, understanding the difficulties, understanding that, hey, I talk about this all the time with whether it's first responders or combat vets or just people in general. Like when we go through trauma, you don't have to be a dispatcher to go through trauma. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be in a car accident. Like trauma is trauma.
absolutely.
The level of trauma and what you deal with, I think it has to do with a lot of the coping skills, the incident itself, right? But trauma is trauma. The relatability piece and that factor, I think, hits certain communities, certain people that can say, wow, what Deborah just talked about, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And there's your story, right? That you're creating this survival guide for others to be able to at least say, she's mentioned a trauma retreat. Like that sounds like something I could do. I'm going to be around other people, but it actually sounds Like it might be educational for me to learn. I'm not somebody that wants to go sit in a therapist's office, but maybe this retreat. So there's so many little snackable pieces that I think you're
Oh
providing.
gosh. And for those in California, if you have Kaiser Permanente, which is our HMO out here,
Mhm.
really big on the West Coast, their psychiatric department does classes
Oh, wow.
as part of their. So I was able to take depression classes, anxiety classes, work stress classes to help build my toolbox up.
Yeah.
Um, I just took pardon me, a trauma class for specifically geared towards childhood trauma, but you can still use those tools, if you have a one-time PTSD or you don't have childhood trauma, you just have trauma like I have, over 30 years from a job.
Right.
So if you can find something like that, I know there may be some online classes that, some of these new online health therapists
Yep.
that, take them. If you can get them, if you can afford them, take those classes because they're only going to do you good. There's no bad side to that.
Well, we all wear armor, right?
Yes,
And you develop that armor over time through your experience, whatever that is. And then when those things happen, there's that armor that's going to protect you because you never know what you're going to get into, what's going to happen.
right,
But it's not just the armor itself, it's how you've been preparing yourself, the education piece, the going to a class and just learning more about how can I learn more about myself and how I react to certain things in my life, or maybe things that would prevent me from doing something in my life because of a past experience.
right.
Right.
And it also helps with your job, especially,
Yeah.
if you have that one-on-one. There was many people I talked off the ledge, using the tools that I had learned in those classes, you know, talking somebody out of a panic attack, talking somebody from, not shooting somebody.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
you just kind of learn those skills and it just benefits you in the long run, especially in this type of job.
Do you ever think about maybe trying EMDR therapy again or trying
Oh,
it?
I'm working on it. I'm um gonna try to work with a friend of mine to write a letter to the head of Kaiser Psychiatric and see if we can't get EMDR therapy put in their repertoire, or at least be able to pay for it for us to go outside of the system because Kaiser covers a lot of governmental workers. So you have a lot highway patrol and all your law enforcement and fire, and it can only benefit them.
No,
So but yeah,
100%.
I do want to try to go back, but out of pocket it would cost me about $200 a session, and I just don't have that right now.
Yeah. You don't have a money tree growing in your backyard.
I do not.
You got to get one of those.
No.
Um,
Gosh.
yeah, EMDR therapy is amazing. I think it definitely it should be a requirement
Yes.
for all agencies who are providing insurance or any type of medical
Yeah.
to our first responder communities, our military, our
And to
veterans.
have those resource that
Yep,
list of those people that you
yep,
can go to. Brain spotting is it's
yeah,
very similar.
yeah.
Um, and so it just works with both sides of your brain and gets those pathways back working again. And let me tell you what, it was like magic.
Hmm. Yeah, I went through EMDR therapy, did a little brain spotting, not much. EMDR therapy combined with talkative was my godsend. That was something that really helped me, to, you know, take 1 minute of time and put that into a little black box and put it into chronological order on my
Hmm.
shelves to then be able to process that. And what I
Right.
learned over time, and you have probably built up this naturally because of your job, which is, I think, another reason we need to shine the light on dispatchers and people that, like you, that did all this amazing work, but had trauma over and over, was that you learn through your therapy how to keep your trauma out in front of you. And I call it kind of a mind mapping. I've just done some research online, but it's my own kind of trauma map. And as that's out in front of me, I'm never going to get rid of it, right?
Right.
It's never going to go away. So how do I now learn my own resiliency? How do I build my armor up to where if I go to a crowded place or I go somewhere where I know it's going to bring on anxiety to me, how do I learn how to keep that out in front of me and not let it get back here and kick me in the back of the head where I'm going to lose
Right.
I'm going to start stuttering.
Right.
I'm going to get my headaches, right? All that PTSD stuff that comes back. And it's amazing when you put in the work, but most people don't want to.
Right.
Um,
They want that quick fix or
yeah.
that little pill, and
Yep.
you have to work with it. I
Yeah.
mean, I take that little pill, but I still have to work
Yeah.
because otherwise you start spiraling. You go down that deep dark hole again. I have a online support group that I attend every week
Wow.
for first responders and veterans. Um, I also do a journaling and meditation group online every
That's cool.
week. And
Wow.
my husband has noticed a big change.
Yeah.
Plus, I still have therapy.
Yeah.
My therapist loves me. I keep checking in on her. I go, after I'm done with you, do you have somebody you can talk to? Because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
That's yeah.
I've been noticing the change now that I've been retired for 3 years now. Is it's not so much the past anymore and what I did do. It's silly stuff now. My son pissed me off, or my grandson is autistic, so I talk through a lot of my frustrations about that with her, and so I can tell I'm healing from that other journey because I'm not concerned about that right now,
Yeah.
which is good.
That's good. Yeah. It's taking that deep breath. It's
Yeah.
applying what you were forced to learn through all the crazy incidences that you had to deal with, but now you're applying it to real life. And
Yes.
what you're doing now today with your career, post law enforcement, and
I'm
being in a much
busier
more
now.
peaceful place, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm busier now than I was before, but I love it. I do childcare for my 4-year-old grandson Monday through Friday,
That's
and
cool.
we are best buddies, and we have our little routine that we do, but
Yeah.
it's for me and him. So we
Yeah.
go on a walk, we get outside just about every day. We go play at the park, we play bubbles, we watch Miss Rachel on TV. If you know, you know. Nap time is my kind of quiet time during the day that I can get some stuff done. And
Yeah.
then, I take him home, and it's great. And then on the weekends I work at an HOA. I know first responders know we hate HOAs, but they're paying me, so I don't care.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I just make coffee and open up a clubhouse and answer phones and talk with great people
Yeah.
and people that are not having a bad day.
Yeah.
So, it's been a great healing journey these 3 years, and I don't know how I did what I did before, you know?
Yeah. Well, what you did before has brought you to where you are today.
Yes.
And you have such an incredible, powerful story behind you, that I know is going to help a lot of people. And like you mentioned, you helped one and you're going to help another. And it's gonna just avalanche from there. But it's about, as we wrap up, it's about finding that inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hard work that you've put forth to put yourself in where you are today. It's a matter of being able to stand back up and walk tall for yourself every day. Because if you
Yes.
can't walk tall for yourself, you can't walk tall for others. And
Exactly.
you are definitely that pillar of walking tall and standing up for yourself, which is going to be something that people aspire to try to
Well,
become, right?
hopefully not just me, but all dispatchers. Let's hope.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
don't forget your dispatchers because they're your first responders.
Yeah.
We're the ones who pick up that phone and we're on scene already. So,
Yeah, I can't, there's some like trending videos sometimes that'll pop up on whether it's TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, and it'll be a call.
mhm.
And you hear the other person on the other phone, but you hear the dispatcher and the calmness and the professionalism and just trying to help. And that's all
Yes.
you've been a servant to so many people your entire life, basically, of your adulthood anyways, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely deserve some you time. You deserve that little boy to bring you peace. And
Yeah.
I'm just really excited. I'm very thankful that I met you and that you came on this show.
Well, thank you for having me. Been a pleasure.
Now, Deborah, where can people learn more about you? Get in contact with you? What?
I'm on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter,
Yeah.
TikTok, and there's one more. LinkedIn. There we go. But if you go to my Instagram, there I have the link tree,
Okay.
so it'll get to all my other ones. So my Instagram is at D911 Green, and you can find all my other places. I do TikToks that are a little bit inspirational, a little off the
Mm,
cuff, and I do them on my walks. So, I just give out a little inspirational quote every day and hope that it touches somebody. And
wow.
um, yeah,
Well,
but who'd have thunk at 57 years old?
hey, we learn from everybody, right? And yeah,
But
no,
yeah, if it, and there's lots of resources out there.
yeah,
If it's First Responder Support Network is a good one.
okay,
If people go on there, it has lists of psychologists and psychiatrists and things like that. West Coast Post Trauma Retreat
mm,
um is excellent, and I think they're opening up places throughout the country, not just out here on California. And then the Overwatch Collective is helping people pay for psychiatric help if they need it, that can't
okay,
afford it, and they're fabulous. And then my support group, the Power of Our Story,
mm,
they are a wonderful, wonderful group. And there's support groups all week long that kind of match whatever you're into,
wow,
and they actually have a Bible study too. So if somebody needs that, and you're talking with like-minded adults, which is
yeah,
really great. Um, oops.
yeah.
And they just put out a book too. Sorry, I'm gonna plug.
No, it's
Um,
good.
Wounds to Wisdom. I don't know if you
Yeah,
could see that.
yeah.
Sarah Carell. There we go. Shoots it.
Oh wow,
There's 29 stories from 29 of our members
wow.
um about their trauma journeys.
Okay,
So, there's help out there if you're just looking for it. And if you need help, just get a hold of me. I'm
yeah,
always available.
yeah.
Heck, I'm retired. I don't do much.
You're welcoming it. Let's go.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's go.
And I actually had a
Well,
call yesterday, so that was good.
awesome. Yeah. Well, don't. So, what's your to end here? What's your biggest advice for an active dispatcher today? Um, just to kind of summarize your message.
And this is not just for dispatchers. This is going to be for all first responders and all veterans. Get a therapist. Whether you've been in 1 year, whether you've been in 30 years. Go get one now before the crap hits the fan.
Mm,
Learn those tools. Get established with somebody that you're comfortable with. That way, when it does hit, and it's not an if, it's a when, because we're in that type of job. You have somebody you can go to get help
Mm,
that you trust.
awesome. You just gave me chills just thinking about somebody's going to listen to that and try to figure out how to do that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on I'm Going In. This was really inspirational.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm going to follow you on social media. I'm going to stalk you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But yeah,
thank you
there's
for
lots
being
of
on.
podcasts out there, and find something that works for you guys, and you
Yeah.
know, follow this one, like and subscribe to this one. Sorry, I did it for
Yes.
you.
Right here, wherever the button is, follow it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on.
Thanks again.